Africa is the second largest continent, second to Asia. One-fifth of Earth's land is Africa. That's how big it is. There's plateaus everywhere. Plateaus, of course, are...
You're going to write down?
You're just writing down what's underlined. So you'll write down second largest continent. Plateaus everywhere. Plateaus are mountains that are flat at the top. Most of the mountains in Africa are old volcanoes, and that's why they look like that. Also, you have those elevations. In red, you have 4,500 feet above sea level, and then in blue, you have sea level. Sea level is Mediterranean climate. Very good. That was a short one. All right, here we go. You already got this stuff. Africa is divided into 5 regions. You have North Africa, West Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, and Southern Africa. Talked about the Sahara before. The Sahara is the world's largest desert. It is only 20% sand. I know from a lot of the pictures we see, it looks like it's completely sand, but there's also a lot of salt plains, and then gravel, and also mountains that make up the Sahara Desert. Under the Sahara is an ancient ocean of fossil water, 6,000 feet below the Saharan Desert. So that's kind of interesting. We're good? Yep. All right, here we go. Sahara, boom. Okay. The Nile River, 4,000 miles long. This river is in the middle of the Sahara, or in the Sahara Desert. So it is one of the most densely populated areas because there's nowhere else where you got water in the middle of a desert. So of course people are going to live here. We've talked about this before a billion times. Ancient civilizations, ancient Egypt, always settle around water. You have 3,320 people per square mile, which is very dense population. And my buddy Akmar Farouk Bakr is from right there, Cairo. His dad's an arms dealer for the U.S. military. Best friend growing up. He's a doctor now. Everybody good? Let's see if we can go full screen again. Yep. Okay. This is the Sahel. The Sahel is this orange area that is between the Saharan Desert and the central rainforest areas of Africa. Now, this area is in more recent times at risk of desertification. So we've talked about that word before. It sounds a lot like deforestation. This is kind of similar. All it means is the desert, the Saharan Desert, is spreading into this area. And so the Saharan Desert is actually getting bigger. Now that may not mean a lot, but when we talk about people that live in that area and they use subsistence farming to survive, now they can't grow crops because their cropland is turning into deserts. So that's kind of a big deal, or it really is a big deal. We good? Moving on. Lake Chad. Lake Chad is an intermittent lake, which means that in the rainy season, it's big, and in the dry season, it's small. It has shrunk a lot. You can see the pictures there from 1973 to 1997, and then 2001 is the one we're looking at on the big picture. And of course, the drought that we talked about in the last slide, Sahel, the increased desertification, also affects Lake Chad. Pretty good. Ready to move on? Here we go. Okay, the Niger River is the river delta that we saw the HBO Vice of. The one where there was the pirates and the oil companies that go to drill the oil, and they promised the people they would build infrastructure, and they never did. So then the pirates went, and they were taking the oil so that they could make money and they could build whatever they wanted or feed their families. That's where this is. So this is a highly polluted area, very oil-rich area, 606 oil fields, and the U.S. imports 40% of the oil from this area. 40%. That's a lot of oil. Very good. Here we go. Okay, like I said, most of the mountains in Africa are dormant volcanoes. Mount Kenya, Mount Kilimanjaro. Mount Kilimanjaro is the highest peak in Africa. All right, another short one. Everybody ready? Okay, this is the Rift Valley. Rift valleys are results of tectonic plate movements. So the tectonic plates move apart because lava from inside of Earth pushes apart the divergent plates. In the middle you have rivers. It's really green in Africa. One of the bigger lakes is Lake Tanganyika. This lake is 420 miles long. It's a big lake. Tanganyika. Very good? Yes. Okay, the Congo, you got the Congo River and the Congo Basin. This is where King Leopold II exploited a lot of people when they went to the Berlin Conference, and they kind of divided up Africa without Africans being there to kind of represent each other. The Congo is a very resource-rich area. So they have a big river, the Congo River, that has a lot of waterfalls, and it's very good for making hydroelectricity. So they have that going for them. They got timber, they got oil deposits, they got gold, very resource-rich, but a very poor, impoverished area because it was exploited by their authoritarian dictator. The Congo Basin is where all these rivers drain into. It's just a low-lying area where it's very wet, like a swamp. Very good? Okay, this is Victoria Falls. Victoria Falls is on the Zimbabwe River, and it's the border between Zimbabwe and Zambia. See if we can watch a little of this right here. It's also where they fought in Black Panther. fast forward a little bit. Oh, hey, never mind. All right, that was cool. Not really. Here's one you don't got to write about. This is the Namib Desert. This desert is 1,200 miles long. A lot of rainfall. 1,200 miles is literally from here to LA. It's a pretty big desert. A lot of rain. Can't really count on rain or not count on rain. Here's Africa's resources. You got gold, diamonds, platinum, oil reserves, and forestry, as well as agriculture, which is your next notes. Okay, 2 words you got to know here. Subsistence, what does that mean? Great, good answer. It means to survive, just enough to survive, just enough to get by. And then arid. Anybody know what arid means? No. No, wrong answer. Anybody else? You? Yeah, great answer. Wow. Arid means like empty. Becomes more empty, more deserty. So the more deserty the land in Africa becomes, the harder it is to survive on agriculture. Again, hit that like button if you like this video. Subscribe. Oh. What'd you say? Pretty good? No? Okay, here's the climate regions. You guys may or may not have got these. The ones on your paper looks a little bit different. So this area up here on yours at the way top is the Mediterranean zone. Then underneath that is your desert. And your guys' all right here is savanna. Then in here in the middle it'll say rainforest. Down here it says steppe. And then right in here it's desert again. That's the Namib Desert in there. It's actually down here. Very good. Okay, 90% of Africa lies between the tropic zones, so it's very tropical, hot, humid area. So the July temperatures are between 110 and 115. It's very hot. So Africa, 90% of it is in here. Hot and humid, and then up here in the Sahara, hot and dry. And it gets back to Mediterranean as you get further away from the equator. Between the tropics. Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. All right. Very good? All right, moving on. Okay, so like I just said, located near the equator, so you have a hot, humid climate that lends to rainforest. Deforestation here is what you should have in your notes. All deforestation is taking away forests. They're cutting down the trees. They're using them in the timber industry. Like that stat says there, 50% of a tree is not used when they cut it down. So a lot of waste going on in the timber industry in Africa. Deforestation also eventually becomes desertification. So you take away all the vegetation, and all you get left with is sand, or soil, and then eventually it just becomes desert. You got it? Still writing? No? There you go. Okay, tropical grassland. This is the Serengeti Plain. Very few trees. and then also home to the Serengeti National Park.